Michael DiLeonardo, also known as Mikie Scars. The government says he's a high-ranking member of the Gambino crime family.
No Excuses with Michael DiLeonardo. I'm your host, RJ Roger. Michael, it's 9:30 p.m., brother.
9:34 to be exact.
It's a late one. This is a late one.
That's good. It's okay. I got a tea and honey. You got yourself a coffee. We'll get started now. Friday.
I don't mind Friday late because I stay up late anyway. See, I'm off tomorrow. You work tomorrow. That's the difference. I'm off all weekend, every weekend.
That's all right.
Probably. So now I got to think about that from now on when we do late Friday shows. See, I never thought about that until just now. I always think, well, I'm off Saturday, Sunday.
There's elbow abuse.
So, anyway, how you doing?
Great. Just came back from dinner. Really good.
Bone-in ribeye or a big burger?
No, I went for rice balls and octopus and things like that. Yeah, really good.
I know where you went.
Yep.
So,
one of my favorite places.
Yeah. So, last week, well, you said you liked the two shows, right? You said you rewatched them. You enjoyed them.
Yeah, very good. Did a great job editing. Really good. Impressed.
Yeah. The best show is only a C-rated show unless it's edited. So, you get a B or an A from editing.
Visuals mean a lot.
Yep. When we're kids, we like picture books. When we're adults, we like picture videos.
And that's how Playboy magazine was created. Bunch of pictures.
Yeah. That's funny. All right. So we left off on, you said cut it right there at Rule 36, and we didn't even get to it. So it's the last rule in the book, and it is, in a way, I'm concluding the book to everybody. So sneak peek, you get the last sentence in the book. So of all my studying of 120 so years or so of mafia bosses in New York, my summary of the whole thing is, by a plot, every boss has his day. I use a Paul Castellano quote: in this secret society, there's one way in and there's only one way out. You come in on your feet and you go out in a coffin. Big Paul Castellano. So now I can tell I'm moving you along here a little bit, but you're a little on the fence with the concluding of a boss theory.
Yeah. Okay.
So even though last week I read you 26 bosses versus 6 bosses that met 26-6, you wouldn't place a bet on anything else in life with those kind of odds. 26 died in jail or in the street. 6 lived, 6 got out, but they still had a troubled life.
At what price glory? Is that what you're saying?
Well, do we accept that what Junior said on the 60 Minutes interview that his dad said, we're all going to jail? Do we accept that theory as you should, if you're going to sign up for that life, you should be prepared to die in the streets or die in prison? I ain't talking about this new thing they call the mob. I'm talking about the mob, the mob you were in.
Agreed.
You do agree now?
No, I agree that you don't go in and they explain everything to you. Then you grow up in the street and you know what could happen. Sure, go in eyes wide open, real open. If you're going to trick yourself into thinking you're just going to find a good suit and walk around the neighborhood, in those days, you're kidding yourself. But again, a lot of guys. We're talking about boss right now. So
Boss only.
yeah. So let's. But you have to rise to get there, and there's a lot of things, obstacles that can stop you if you have that in your mind that you want to be the CEO of the company. That there's going to be real challenges, and you probably at times a lot of guys who thought they could be boss didn't make it because they probably got killed for it. Because others seen that upward mobility, that aggressiveness. And as we could see with a lot of bosses, we could delineate most of them to say they eliminated their threats or potential threats in their head, which is a travesty in that life. But as you said, you're always looking down to see who's the up and comer, who's the challenger, who could take my seat the way I took somebody else's seat. Sure, that comes with that power of being the representant. Absolutely.
And we talked about this last week a little, but I didn't know you yet, but like you said, being number 3 is a safe place to be. That's historically accurate. And I even warn in the maid section of the book, choose wisely. This is real comfortable. You can die free with your family in a nice home as a maid, just staying beneath the boss level. You can live a long time, great life, never. And you told me, RJ, there's so many people that the world's never heard of, lived their whole life, never even got arrested, lived, made money, took care of their families, had a nice life, good wife, good kids went to school. You don't even know their name.
Tell you what, it brings me to a story of just a few days ago. I ran into an older gentleman, and he's seen the show. 80 years old, watching our show, and how he broached it with a big smile. I never seen the guy before in my life, and he says he sees that I wasn't biting on it. And he says, "I seen your show. I know who you are." I said, "Really? What's your name?" "I'm Michael." He says, "Anthony." I says, "Ninuzzu," like Antonio, and Nino. And he got a kick out of it because he was Sicilian. And I said, "Where'd you grow up?" He says, "Upper East Side of Manhattan." I said, "Really?" He said, "Did you know?" I figured he knew Joe Corey, right? He says, "Did I know him?" He says, "I was in his liquor store. I remember his father, Mikey." I says, "We used to call him Utsumagidu." He says, "Yeah." He says, "Those guys, they were great guys." And he went on speaking glowingly about them and all the guys that came in the club and the respect and the deference that was shown. And, he told me 311 76th Street was the club. 78th Street was the liquor store. So he knew his stuff. He wasn't a wise guy, this guy. He wasn't from the street, but whoever brought him around there, he had to have a relative in the life. But the respect that he's seen from these guys that's the aspiration. Now, I'm a guy that cooperated against the grain that he looked up to. But after seeing me on here and you on here, right, and all these stories unfolding and talking about the histrionics and the machinations, he said it brought him right back to those guys. I said, "I'm flattered." He says, it basically was telling me, "You're an old school guy," and I relate, So I gave him my phone number, and I told him I'll take him to dinner or something like that. More than happy to. But that's the whole thing. See, Joe Corey's dad went to captain. Could this man have been boss if he wanted to? Yeah, maybe. Had the respect. Going right back to that island. Joe Corey took over his father's position as a couple of decina and held that position. At one point, could he have been in administration, legitimately in administration? Absolutely. John should have made him his concierge. Pete played with him with the concierge position later on, and we talked about that. But it was he didn't want it. He didn't want no part of it. He didn't want no spotlight. He didn't want to deal with those guys that really had a different perspective and view of the life. So I guess I'm trying to tie this into the boss mentality. Somebody has to come through the ranks, and there's only one seat again. Who's the guy that wants the brass ring? How much are they willing to do to get there? Do they kill to get there? Do they plot to get there? What do they do to get there? Because a boss is a boss until he's not a boss. Like a friend is a friend until he's not your friend. Right? So how do you usually get rid of a boss? A lot of them, don't. As you said, I go to your point. A lot of them die or go to prison. So, and there's certain bosses even today that are in prison that never relinquished. That acting in committees, etc., stuff like that. So yeah, it's a position that doesn't come with good faith. Your road is pretty much destined. It's not going to turn out right. But the aspiration of getting there, it's not going to happen to me. When I get there, nobody's killing me. When I get there, I'm not going to prison. I'm going to be super careful. You're a main target by law enforcement and by maybe that one John Gotti that's laying out there, or Joe Messina, etc., or Mikie Scars that's willing to create a lot of havoc and create a lot of damage to get to that position. So it is a very, very, think about all the stress a boss comes with. It's not about the money then. Some may think it's the money. Once you get there, it comes with a lot of responsibility. Of course, it's the ultimate call. You're the ultimate call for taking somebody's life. Again, not today's times. Thank God they're not like that. We're in a different world. If you're the boss today, you have a lot of fun. Right? What are you going to go to jail for? Mopery? Well, so, and it's a good thing. They're not killing, not dealing drugs, as redundantly I say this. But it means something, because those were the factors that you had to deal with a heavy hand for people that got out of order. So the heavy-handedness, as we know through history, has been dealt. And to your point, I'll agree with you. I will agree with you that it doesn't end well. But that's not the mindset I'm thinking of. The guys that want to get there think it is. The only one I really could think of that knew he was going to have a problem was John Gotti, because of the way he did it. And at the time he did it. And the murders that were secretly being done when he was in the street. Two in particular, and one after he just went in. So, and he almost lost his son. Another factor you got to figure. You get that position. Look at Mangano. He lost his brother. Look at Scalise. He lost his brother. You get into those powerful positions. Not only are they killing you, what about Tommy Ryan? They kill brothers. It's not just you when you reach for that brass ring or have it. Tommy Bellotti. He got killed because he was with Paul and a Paul loyalist. He went. So you're taking the guys closest to you with you when those things happen.
Yeah. Do you remember the part of some of those parts in the tapes where like it seemed like John was agonizing over being boss? How some of the stuff he was saying, where it was like, who would want this? I can't remember if it was. I forget the exact words when he was saying about he's sick. People. He says, "I got nothing but heartache." Remember he said that. But I don't know. It seemed like and do you think he got to a point while still on the street that he was like, "Man, maybe this ain't what I thought it was"?
No, I don't want to take that away from John. John loved to be boss, and he would have met any challenge. But how he explains it and his frustration with people, Ravana for one, and other people, that he had to worry the guys with the dirty stomachs downstairs. He had to worry about who was robbing jobs from this guy. He had to worry about, like, when he blew up on tape, tell that guy to shove his motherfucking head off.
John Gambino tonight. You'll sever your motherfucking head off. Hello, hi, buddy. Boy, buddy, my balls. Listen, I called your house 5 times yesterday. Now, if your wife thinks you a dusky or she's a dusky and you're going to disregard my motherfucking phone calls, I'll blow you and that house up.
You know, you're bringing him a gambling beef. You're a captain. You're bringing me a gambling beef. Tell him me, John Gotti, will sever your head off. He's frustrated saying that. He expects his captain to take care of that. The O'Connor thing, right? Jimmy Brown comes to him. Jimmy, go ask permission. You take care of it. You know, all the Fred Weiss thing. Jimmy Brown again goes to him. Who takes care of it? He put Joe Watts and then later on Sammy on there. So you're delegating things, and you have to make these decisions that you don't look weak. But if you're heavy-handed enough, you may look like a threat.
Yeah. Do you ever wonder, like you just mentioned, like the guys today and stuff, they're not doing no murders, not getting no drugs. But you ever wonder, like, what is it that they don't get close to the bosses anymore? We don't see bosses really get touched by investigators too much anymore.
Well,
is it just because the lack of what's going on in the streets?
Yes. There's nothing that the government sink their teeth into. You don't even want to go up the chain with a paper trail. Construction. But what did they have done? That's all they did was talk about construction, really. A couple of guys get pinched here and there. What are you getting pinched for? They shouldn't even be making those pinches, to tell you the truth.
They wouldn't be making them if they weren't Italian guys under a suspected big 5 family name.
I agree.
I mean, you would never. These are things that new guys come in and they build a career off the back of that article, and it's a resume builder. Yeah. Took on a guy in the Gambino family or something like that. That's good for your career.
Yeah, I agree. If there's anything going on, that shenanigans should stay with the state police.
Yeah.
You know, the FBI, should do anything that's really affecting society, not construction stuff. And that's just my opinion. Again, most of my opinions are going to come from my previous life into life to how I look at it. Not as a citizen. I know I have to front that all the time, but I think I need to, because it is an opinion of me being inside.
We'll go to that Rule 36. Just want to read a quick quote that came out of Junior's book about John, what we were just talking about. I have it published in my book, but I was telling a story about some stuff. He says, I've always felt in my heart, this is Senior talking to Junior, I've always felt in my heart that the day would come that my family and I would be separated by prison.
True. Yeah. He knew that going in. You don't have to be a boss to have that experience. Many guys have life sentences and being separated from your family again. But I think it was more of a lesson for his son to be careful, because he really wanted his son to stay in the background, because he knew the pitfalls. He knows the name. He knows the government. He's not going to leave the kid alone, because it was out there. Of course, there's no secret that he was calling that he's a Gotti. He was on the panel. We had so many CIs that it'd be a joke, and not only our family, other families, tell him that Junior's moving around pretty good in the street, making a lot of meets. Colombo War, etc. Bobby Borriello, that major stuff he jumped into right away. His father was not happy. So I think it was him just giving his son a message that, you got to be really careful here, because you can get separated and you want to maybe die in a prison. And look at the video that Junior went up to the prison to see his father. What was it? Just about a little synopsis of that. John, hey, we're here now. What do you want to do? This is the life you chose, right?
He was telling his son essentially you got to take it. You got to eat it, right? Is that what you were taking from it?
Go to trial. No deal. You want them to go to trial. You got to fight this fight. And he was right. Sooner or later, you have to fight the fight. They're going to keep coming. Like I did in Atlanta, like a lot of other guys took shots. Some won, very few won. Very much so, guys lost. But you got to fight the fight.
But he has to be thinking he's not going to win this fight. He's a Gotti. You're a Gotti when the government, with the whole U.S. government on your back. So you think Senior knew the fate of my son? He's going to die in here like I am. In his mind, because like you told me before, I thought about this. I said, do you really believe that Senior believed that his son had it? And you, I believe, said he wouldn't have made him if he didn't think he did.
Well, look at the way he flips out when they tell him about the indictment in the Scores case. Louis the left hands, this monster. Where these people come from? What is my son doing? That's what he's saying. How did my son get involved with these people? It's like, are you kidding me? What are you doing? I told you stay in the back. So he knew his son was going to run into problems, and especially with that case. He was livid over that case because there's more tapes, more videotapes out there that they talk about it. And he wasn't happy. Of course, how could you be happy? His son got arrested, but it's his poor judgment that he was ruminating about.
It's something. Whenever you say, because you bring your son into a criminal organization, like,
yeah,
maybe I'll never understand. Oh my God, my son's arrested. Well, but you brought him into a crime group. Like, you don't bring him in, he doesn't ever get arrested. Everything that John Jr. ever dealt with was, like he said, I was my father's cause.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. But he set these barriers up for him to stay in the back. He put 4 other guys up front that he would stay in the back and disseminate information. And if he could get it to his father didn't think he was going to stay in Marion forever. Figure you stay there a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, and then they ship you out. And then John would have been like free in population, even in the penitentiary. Yeah. Over there, it was behind the glass all the time with visits. Very frustrating for him to run anything. So the government really boxed him in, which left him to have his son out there running the family that he couldn't advise him on. That's why he's frustrated there. So the point of him being a boss and bringing his son in, he didn't think it was going to end that way. Again, you don't think certain things are going to end that way.
You think he really didn't think he was going to be in Marion the whole time?
No, yeah, I didn't think so. He shouldn't have been there. They usually throw, I think Scarpo was there, Persico was there. There's certain guys they send there, certain bosses. They run them through there, year and a half, 2 years, I think, and then they put them into a pen. So he never thought he'd be there and die there.
Well, I never thought about that. You're right, I guess. Check out this quote here. Another quote in Junior's book that I put it in mine. When you go to war with me, I give no quarter and I ask for no quarter. When a man chooses a path, whether the choice be right or wrong, a man has to be true to himself and stay on that path, no matter how difficult it may be. When something is good, you can't say, this is for me. But when it gets difficult, it's not for me. Some decisions you make are for life. And a man, to be a man, stands by those decisions. John Gotti.
Senior. Yeah, that's not Junior's words.
No, he's just telling what his dad said to him.
Yeah.
When he was in jail.
Sounds like a lesson, huh?
But that's something anybody can relate to. When things are going good, you can't say, this is for me, this is great. And now when that same thing starts going bad, nah, it's not for me.
That's the case. That's what he's telling him. Go to trial.
Yeah.
Oh, look how eloquent that was said. It's a reality. Now, as a father, right? What would be the easy course for a father to tell his son to have less pain? Take a deal. After you come out, run away. No. What did John say? You're in it. Eat it. Fight the fight. That's your cause. That's what you wanted. That's the advice of a boss to a soldier, not the advice of a father to a son.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll always be a complex person. He gave a place for the street guy to have to be considered, to be judged in a wider way. For the guy that chooses the opposite end of the road, the opposite side of life, the brilliance of John and how he expressed himself, it'll at least bring a pause for people to reconsider harsh, quick judgment on the other side of the track. So,
well, you don't think that pained him to tell his son that? He knew his son would look really bad. He knew his son at that point. He may not like what I'm going to say, but it's not words he put, not my words he put in that book. He put his father's words in there, right? And who was his father talking about? He wasn't talking about me. He was talking about him. So, John had a lot of disappointment in his heart with a lot of people, and he was a tormented, tortured soul, I believe, the day he died. Frustrated, but that goes into your philosophy about a boss. That's what happens. Now you take Chin with his sons. He didn't put them. What happened later on after he was dead is another thing, but he didn't put his sons into life. He set his sons up for business. So that's the opposite. Paul Castellano didn't put his sons into life. He put his sons in business. So we could go down a list of bosses who did that or did not do that with family.
doesn't it show to a certain extent, though, how much John believed in it, the life? Because you have to believe, when we played the tape of Dux Corallo and Sal Alvalino, I always talk about this. He said, if I was a lawyer or a doctor, I would want my son to be a lawyer or a doctor. But if we're saying we don't want our sons in the life, and he's on tape saying, no, I wouldn't bring my sons into life. And he's saying, so what we're saying is this life is fucking bullshit. Because if it was everything that we keep saying, we wouldn't have no problem with our sons being here.
Andy Russo just made his other son, the youngest one. Boy, I guess on the last, recently, I don't know when, in the last year, yeah, he made his two sons. So they'll make him kid? No, not now. I mean, not my thinking right now is no. Might change 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but right now my thinking is no. If the life was good enough for you, and the life was good enough for you, pointed there, and for me, if we really believe in it, why wouldn't we want our son? If I were a doctor, I would be saying to my son, since he's a little kid, you're going to be a doctor. If I was a lawyer, I would be looking for my son to be a lawyer. So they must feel that if this life was good enough for me, I want it for my son also. Otherwise, we're really saying that this fucking life is no fucking good for the birds, right?
But so when John's saying, you guys made me love this fucking life, when when John's saying, Cosa Nostra till I die, be an hour from now, be it tonight or 100 years from now, it would, by bringing his son in, it might look like he thinks this is something that, I don't know. Does that show his real belief in it?
Yeah, 100%.
Because you ain't bringing your sons in, and you loved Cosa Nostra.
Yeah, no, it never would have happened. Never. Yep.
And you still think it was a great, grand, fun thing, but you still say, no, I ain't bringing my sons in this thing.
For me. Don't forget, I didn't straighten out any of my friends because my close friends, because I see faults in them. Not major faults. Some, maybe one or two major faults. But I put other people in the life, I got them in. But my closest friends, like my friend Tommy, I love Tommy. I know him since 5 years old. Could he have been a wise guy, a good wise guy? Yeah, absolutely. But he had some things that I didn't want to subject him in that life. I told the story before. I told him, Tom, you really want in? I go to jail and die. They're going to put you with somebody else. He says, well, I ain't going in. I said, that's why I'm not straightening you out. One of the reasons. This ain't about me. But that his loyalty to me was strong. You understand? But he didn't understand this is about the life. It's not about me and you, and we got a little club. No. Something happened. I went to jail. You'd be listening to somebody maybe from the Bronx and tell you to come up. And I know Tommy, I can let him get away with anything. He can tell me to go fuck myself a minute, which he did a couple of times. You know, that guy's my brother. But you ain't doing that with anybody else. And you ain't saying, I'm not going to that wedding. You got to shape up. I'm not going to social club sitting there 10 hours a day because somebody might watch it. So I had to leave him out because of that. Because I didn't think I would be around forever. You understand? If I thought I was going to be in a seat forever and protect him, I could shield him, yeah. That's a different story, but I couldn't guarantee that. If I bring him into it, something he could get himself hurt.
I know this is very hypothetical, but if you look at, let me ask you a twofold question, I guess. For one, have you ever asked your son, or just had a conversation with him as to whether he would have wanted to go into the life? That's my first question. The second is, considering where the life went, the differences in the life, because your son could have been like a Tommy Gambino. You don't gotta be a guy with a gun. You can just be a guy on the docks, be a guy that has a union job, but you get the protection of the family through a button. Let's face it, it would be he's a Bensonhurst kid, a DiLeonardo, whose grandfather, father, great grandfather, people go back to Vito Cascioferro, and he knows everybody in the neighborhood. Paulie Zach knows everybody. Do you think he would, considering where it went today, though, he'd have been fine in there?
No, not if I flipped.
Well, I'm saying in a perfect world situation, you're still in the life.
So look, if I'm not around anymore, he becomes somebody else's property. You're property of that entity, that thing.
Well, I'm taking away the flipping. You're just a guy in the street still, because you'd be whatever. I mean, you would still be high up in there. He would know. He knows everybody you know.
But I wouldn't want him to move around in those circles like that. I wouldn't want to subject him to anything like that, to expose him. I'll get him a job down at Pier. I'll open a business for him. I'll put him in construction. Whatever my ability and my networking could do to afford him a soft landing. That's what you want for your kid. I make the sacrifice, and I'm talking about as a wise guy, not just me personally. You're supposed to make the sacrifice. Now, if my son if I seen a true propensity for violence.
No, he ain't that kind. No, not that kind of thing.
If I seen it, if I seen he had the eye, if I see he had the street, and he's only going to get in the street and get in trouble, then you have to bring him in and say, these are the rules. This is the way it is. And then, but you got to eat that mistake. If something bad happens, like going to prison at a minimum, you have to say, you brought him, it's your fault. Like John's going.
Yeah. But you've never actually had the conversation with him, even like now on the phone.
He's a little boy.
No, I mean like today. Like, have you guys ever talked like, yeah, Dad, I would have.
We talked about that.
I don't think he agrees with you. I think he might have.
Yeah, hypothetical. It can never happen. You don't have it in him. He's a good, soft soul. He don't see. Look, with all that went on, I know he sees the ugly side, but you have to be in there to really experience the ugly side. You have to be experienced. And he should realize that now, with me flipping, his uncle flipping, Frankie Chico getting murdered, Bobby Borriello getting murdered, Junior acting the way he did, and all the other people around. My friends, supposedly my brothers, when I was in jail, nobody writing letters. Everybody ran on their own and listened to other people. He's seen the treachery. These are people who lined up on my door. He's seen it. But in his mind, I guess, I just guess, if he said that he would have been good for the life. It would have been.
No, he never said that. He just, I've talked to him I'm never going to speak for him publicly, but I would say, I don't know. The only thing he ever expressed to me was seeing what it went to today, like how it is now. He could be, he could go down, hang out with some people, get a nice union job, and just.
Yeah, I get him a union job anyway. I get him down to pass anyway, make $300,000 a year like I did for many people out there. I didn't even get a card.
Nice 1% mortgage loan from the bank, a 1% interest loan, and
look at Chin. His kids, put them in. Look at Paul. Then put them all in business.
Okay. I hope he comes on. Junior, I'm inviting you on to the show, onto the live. I tried to call him real quick. I could patch him in. Like, let's answer this for everybody. I would love to get him to answer it. So see if I would love him to say, hey, would you have wanted?
Yeah, again, it's something that if you've seen it from the outside, that's what your father does. He's seen all the good stuff from the outside with me. The other thing he wouldn't, I'm not saying this because I didn't have a deep conversation with him about this, and hypothetical again, is that you have to realize the death and destruction around it. Could he live my lifestyle? Me going out all the time? He's not that type. He don't have it in his heart. He wants to stay home with his kids and his wife. He's not like me. He's not like us. You don't have that selfish, vicious gene when you need it. He don't have it. Thank God. He's not his mother. He definitely ain't me when it comes to that. He's Michael. And Michael has a good soul. And sure, the camaraderie, go join the Elks Club.
Yes, i.e. today's Mafia. It's about like the Elks Club. So by a plot, every boss has his day. These are the concluding page and a half of the book. You are the boss. You built the distilleries.
You are the boss. You built the distilleries, cut the scotch and the bourbon, sourced the offshore connections, paid the rum runners, financed the speedboats. You are New York's biggest bootlegger. Every speak and brothel offers King's Ransom scotch, the finest on the market, and you part own the company. You have made yourself a millionaire, respected by the bankers and the businessmen. You live in the Majestic and in a mansion on Long Island. You have shares in the Beverly Club and the Copacabana. Your gambling interests turn seven-figure profits. Long ago, as a whippersnapper, you promised your mama that you would amount to something, and you do. Your cars are luxury, and your suits are tailored. You have a wife who is costly, and a mistress who is more so. You own politicians, union locals, cops. A wiretap recorded a judge in New York's highest court promising you loyalty. You have the millions and the minions, both acquired by trickery. You have frolicked with Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra. You have laid beautiful women, driven Cadillacs, eaten the finest cuisine. With your millions safe in Swiss banks, you sleep sound, knowing that your nest egg is secure and your gray years will be plush. Truth, as boss, you have it all. If life is a mountain, you have reached its peak. But every boss must fall from the mountain he has scaled. Have you corrupted governments, local, national, and international? Have you gouged the public inflating their cost of living by making the businesses they shop at pay the pizzo, the extortion fee? Has your greed left the poor worse off? Have you charged $50 for what should cost $25? Have you opened speaks and brothels and sold narcotics in poor neighborhoods, contributing to their ruin? Truth, of all this, you are guilty. Truth, you, the boss, are a big fat bundle of shit. You look like a pig on two legs. Your family is a fucked up operation. You are nothing better than a big tub of horse shit, and you will soon stop being a pig and become a corpse. All this, as Lucky Luciano described Joe the Boss Masseria. But Lucky was no better. His decades of robbing the public made him, too, a pig on two legs, him and every other boss. The earth is for the nurturing and protection of the poor, the common, the giving. A boss instead despoils it. As boss, you thought your millions would protect you. Truth, for the scum that you are and the devastation you have caused, pain will come. Your downfall will be televised for your public. Those who once feared you will taunt you. The weak will test and best you. The soldier who once kissed your ring will decide your fate. The bullet will pierce your skin, and if you survive the bullet, you will die instead by jury. The prison gate will ring in your ear with a sentence of a century. Truth, it is more honorable to die by the gun. So when your time arrives, be dignified. Look into your assassin's eyes and say, as Bonanno Caporegime Sonny Black did, hit me one more time and make it good. The rose is beautiful, but it sprouts thorns as well as petals, and in time it withers away. The cold must come, and the frost must bite. Truth, you, the boss, have brought smiles as a rose does, but your thorns have also drawn blood, and in time you will die as the rose will. So, on your first day as boss, buy a burial plot and commission a marble tomb. On its top, have your name carved in bold letters, ensuring that it will live on, as a boss's name should. So long, pal.
Very good. Pretty good. Very good.
Thoughts?
Yeah, well, it sums up the rise and fall. It's stark reality of where you can wind up in that life. And we most, as you said, 26 out of 32. My math is right. Yeah. And that quote by Lucky, that what you quoted, that was about Joe the Boss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny you said it that way because when I seen Douglas' daughter several years back, I went to visit her in Long Island. She said, that fat pig killed my father. Yep.
Wow.
She said, that was the exact word. That fat pig killed my father. So, it's pathetic, and again, once you get in that life, you don't think it's going to be you like anything else. Like when you drive drunk, you don't think you can get caught or get in an accident. It could come, and it comes with devastation. And, when you rise to that position, you do have a tally sheet. And most of it is negative what you did to the world. Your world. The world you live in. Because the tally sheet, like I said, there's only one way you get there. It's usually for violence. And how do you maintain control? Is through violence. Fear. I told you fear. We did this in earlier shows. I feel fear. Fear is much greater than love. Because love could turn into hate very easily, as we know. Friendships, marriage, business, etc. Can turn it. And when it turns from love to hate is worse. That's just my philosophy. And when you're in that position, look at Paul. He was a golden boy when he first took that seat. After that, most people despised him for the hypocrisies and his white towel mentality, looking down on people. And he died just as you articulated, in the street. And is memorialized through a guy named John Gotti who did that. He wasn't just another boss like Tony Ducks that just fades away in the history book. He's memorialized on front pages. So that's what makes Cosa Nostra in that life so popular. It's the death and destruction that people look at, the salaciousness of the life. Because there is the glory of the guy dying with a gun in his hand, let's say, the bad guy. With a gun. He's not vilified for the most part in circles. Mob guys aren't vilified by the general public that are into this genre, are into that. They don't get it. That's real people that are dead. That's real families that cry when somebody's murdered or spends the rest of their life in jail. We're talking about boss position now. It happens to the rank and file also. But the ones that make the front page the most are the guys that made the most noise at the top.
I'm glad you touched on that, because my concluding theory is that it's a setup. I told you this over the phone. It's a setup, that life, because it's not the glitz and glamour and the honor that it seems. It's just not. I'm not saying what they make you swear an oath to. I'm talking about what they do. A man isn't what they say. A man is what they do. If you want to understand a person, look at their actions, not their words.
Correct.
If you look at the historical actions of Cosa Nostra, we're talking boss. It's a setup, because that's not what they tell you it's going to end. And there is a higher authority than the boss. But you're taught the boss is God. The boss is the all be all. Like my favorite line you always said, when the boss clicks his heels, listen, he'll call you out of church. He'll call you away from God, and you better come or he'll kill you. You can be in the... Can the boss call you from God and say, come to me now?
I told you what he told Jackie Knows. I don't care if your wife's getting raped. You come to see me first. We go get those guys and get them. You come here first.
But the truth is, in the end, retribution reaches the Father. There is somebody higher. Karma cometh to the Father. And John Gotti made it look so sexy. See, it looks cool on the camera, and I'm glad you just touched on that. The Godfather looks cool. The public, they don't know what it's like in 10 South. See, they just see Mikie Scars with the girls and the nice suits and the 550 Benz. They don't know they didn't get to see you in 10 South. We don't got no old pictures. We got old pictures of you with nice sunglasses with Jackie and John Jr. And you're kissing Frank Cali and Jr. next to you. You're looking like you got a Versace shirt on. That's so cool. I love this. Like, they can't see you in 10 South. They see you coming down the steps with the blue suit, smiling. That ain't the reality, though. That ain't the only piece.
Well, how about going to identify your brother at the morgue?
There you go. Seeing people chopped up, your family chopped up, seeing people die, seeing someone you were just smiling with yesterday, dead today.
Right.
This is real. This isn't a YouTube show. This isn't a game. This is why I try to explain to people. I haven't apologized to a guy in the comment section before, say, hey, if I'm making you think this is something to be glorified, I'm sorry. It's a really cool history. It's an intriguing history, but it is real. It's far more real and no one shares that part.
Well, how about this? I know Junior talked about it when Bobby Borriello died, was murdered in his driveway.
Mm-hmm.
John Jr. and myself took Patrick for a walk and had to tell him he didn't know his father was dead. That night, we had to take that little boy for a walk and tell him his father was dead and was shot dead in the driveway. Heart-wrenching. So these are the grim realities. When you're in that life, you have to expect these things to happen. Bobby died suddenly. We weren't at war. We didn't think we were. Somebody was at war with us. And he paid with his life, unsuspecting. Coming home, hit the number big that week. I think he hit a triple that day to the racetrack. He was coming home with tomato sauce that he took from the club. He was very happy. He had money in his pocket. And he never made it to the front door while his family was inside. So these are the things that when you get in that life that you have to deal with, you have to have other people deal with. My family was broken after my brother died. But I still love the life, RJ.
No. And that's the part that makes the show interesting. And it's the thing that I think keeps people on the edge of their seat because they can't understand in the midst of so much bad. It's almost like a woman that's been done really bad by her man, her husband. And she says, yeah, but I always loved him. I still love him. I miss him, even though he just did nothing but bad to her. You see that happen a lot sometimes. 100%. But because even with it all, do you think that people like yourself have a different view of death than someone like me? Can you talk about death a little different than I would talk about death?
I'm more of a realist about that. I realized I just had to talk with somebody about death tonight. Matter of fact, mortality and when it can happen, how it can happen at any time that you don't know. People have to be always prepared and not shocked if something does happen. You have to make them prepared.
Yeah, but you speak about it.
As you get up in age, I'm not even talking about a violent death or being in the life. I'm just talking maybe one day somebody gets a heart attack, drops dead. People have to be prepared to deal with the stress. And in the life, we have a lot of great times. We make a lot of money. Some guys make a lot of money. Some guys make a lot more money. Some guys have better times. But it all comes down to one thing. Sooner or later, you're going to experience bad tragedy. And it's always going to outweigh all those good times and those fun times. If you have a conscience and if you have a soul, we know through history till right now with the demon in Arizona, he don't care. He has no soul. It is super easy for him to get on here and talk casually about this and blame others. And that's the difference between a lot of other wise guys in that life who do have a conscience. And that's a lot of the problems that could occur if you don't have a conscience, if you don't have a pure heart to an extent. You lose your pragmatic way of life and the objective way that this life was supposed to be about when you could take life from somebody. Because over here, if you take something from somebody that's capable, you better take their life. Because it also has a long memory. They'll get you. So that's what the bad part of this is. When you seek revenge, dig two graves at times. All these things mean something. And any kind of gang life, street life, just that Cosa Nostra is more regimented and organized throughout time. And that's what made it more palatable to be involved in, because there was this regimen. Everybody wasn't just killing each other. You're on the corner, and the guy comes by and starts shooting everybody in the corner. You know, this was something that you accepted. You got in there. Yeah, you think I didn't know there was treachery? Oh, it's my brother in 81. I got straightened out in 88. I have 7 years to make up my mind not to do it. So there's always something that says that was that incident in time. I'm going to be different. And a lot of people go on and say they're going to be different. I'm going to coast through this life. I'm going to do my thing. I'm not going to get involved in politics. I'm not going to get involved in all that nonsense. I'm going to coast as best I can. And for a lot of guys that work through the history. But then there's the others want that breast ring. And that's where the devastation starts to get to that breast ring. John Jr., he would got killed within the family, maybe. We have a guy that flipped that said Nicky Corallo wanted to clip him. One of Nicky's guys. What'd Junior do to Nicky? Zero. He liked Nicky. In spite of his uncle saying, don't help Nicky. Don't push Nicky. Don't give him any power. He would have died for it. What? What was Junior going to die when everybody was off the street with gas pipe? Why would he want to kill Junior? Because he knew that Junior was going to be the boss. And vengeance was going to be gas pipe because he held no quarter when he came to the Gambino family, not even his own family. That's the ugliness that you could die for no reason. When you want that brass ring and be the shot caller. Did I go too far?
No, it's good. Do you? Because like sometimes you like make these morbid jokes, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? Who says that? I remember I was talking to you on the phone early on, and you were like, RJ, I'm getting close to that little house. I'm like, that ain't funny. Like, who says stuff like that? Like, I'm getting close to that little house. Your birthday was coming up. And that's what you said to me over the phone.
The longer you live, the faster you will die.
Do you fear death?
No. Nope. I'll explain that in another show. Why not? You got to be ready for it. You got to be prepared. You have to have prepared people around you to be ready for it. Nothing's going to happen. I'm just saying anybody can get a heart attack. Anybody can get in a car accident. As best as you could prepare people around you, as you get older, you start thinking about mortality. It's a natural thing. My father lived to 98 almost, close to 98. When I would talk to him, and one of his friends died, as like say from his 80s up, he was losing my father a lot of friends. They were dying off one at a time. They were all in the 80s and then into the 90s, and he would be depressed. I says, Dad, what are you depressed about? He was still dancing, driving his car. He was having a couple of drinks, having a great time in Florida on the East Coast. He said, what do you mean? I said, what do I mean? You keep going to the wakes. What are you worried about? You keep going to their wakes and hearing about them die, and it's not you. What the fuck you worried about? And, you know, I would hear that pause on the other end. I keep it going. You know what I mean? But he was worried about when he may die, because every time he heard somebody die as he got older, he says, I could be next. So as you get older, you get in touch with your mortality. You start thinking about it.
Privately, though, you don't talk. You don't share it.
I talk about it. As I'm getting older, I'll talk to people that are close to me about it, just in case. Got to prepare them that I ain't going to be here forever. Nobody's going to be here forever. Nobody. Nobody's lived forever. Except for the guys getting the Social Security checks. 360 years old. Oh, boy. You have to find humor in these things because it's inevitable no matter what life structure you're in. There's going to be bad days.
But you could truly say that you have no fear of death.
No, I don't want to die.
Well, yeah, but you're not afraid of it.
But you know why? I know it's going to impact a lot of people. Are going to be devastated. My family, some really close friends. You don't want to see them in pain, right?
No, I'm not leaving. I'm staying in this bitch. I'm working on a solution.
I got friggin' shoes your age.
I'm not going to.
I
I'm
got
living
shoes
forever.
from 1986, almost 40 years old.
Now you saw that what Elon's new technology can do. He talked about how we can essentially give eternal life because we can download. Now we'll take the body out of it, the human body, but we'll put your consciousness, your character, your thoughts, your personality into a robot, and your consciousness won't die. You'll continue on. You can essentially have life forever. He said this is essentially a way to never die.
Ain't good enough for me. I want to eat. Screw that. I can't eat. Put me on the ground.
In reflection, though, like when I read the book, certain passages from it, when you just sit in the chair that you're in, I'm not asking you for. Oftentimes, when we have these conversations, you say, "Well, I'm putting myself back then,"
Right.
But from where you sit, when you think about having to take that walk with Patrick Borriello, having to bury Bobby Borriello, seeing Frankie DeChico being blown up, seeing Mikey DeBat be killed, seeing Louis Melito be killed, seeing friends go to jail for life, die in jail, seeing your brother be murdered and your family be devastated, seeing what, like the full scope of the mob, seeing everything you know and everything you experienced, John dying the way he died. It's awful. That's nothing. That's a good. You get one life. I don't think people. This is why I keep trying to explain. You don't live twice. You live once. Dying in a box like that, away from everybody that you love. I wish we could see that rather than just the Brioni suit, John.
Watch the videos of Marion, and it's sobering.
So when you sit where you sit, but you say, maybe I should have just went and been Teamster truck driver and just worked on the waterfront and went home with Mikey and played in the pool, or is it worth it? If you could do it all over where you sit, what you say, it probably wasn't worth it.
Well, do it all over. Anybody says they would do it all over again and they had the type of tragedies and lifestyle, I think that would be disingenuous because I wouldn't want to see my brother get killed. I wouldn't want to see that walk I took with Patrick or others. I wouldn't want to go through me flipping and all I went through. Me personally, talking about me, but devastation around it because you do hold guilt about stuff, what you did. And just for internal, I broke my own spirit because I decided to flip. So I broke my own spirit. I wouldn't want to go through all that again. To say I have no regrets, I don't know how anybody can ever say they don't have no regrets in life if they had those tragedies. So, yeah, absent certain things, yeah, it would be in life. But you can't unring bells that have been rung. And that is part of that life. And that is part of anything you sign up for that you dedicate and give your life and your soul for. I went in like this. I didn't go in like this.
So if you could do it all over, you wouldn't unpinch. You wouldn't say, I want to feel that burn of that sink. I want to feel that prick. You still want to feel it.
Yeah, but again, it's so hard for me to sit here and be a hypocrite now. Yeah, could I say, well, I already delineated and articulate all the bad things that.
Well, it's not a hypocrite. It's just reflection. Today, you're sitting in that seat. When you look back Is
No,
that life?
of course I have a better life now. There's none of those pressures. I don't have to take those walks with people that got murdered in the street. Of course, this is a better life. But again, RJ, no matter how many times, it's hard for me to take myself, extrapolate this, and take myself out of this because it was me for 47 years in that life. Again, it's not an indoctrination, not a product of environment, conscious choices I made. I wasn't tricked. I was fooled. I knew everything that went on. So, it definitely was a bad life. If you can't say it was if you're going to say it was a good life throughout, then all those people that died around you, including my brother, meant nothing.
Yeah, because you miss it sometimes. The first day I hung out with you, you told me that. You said sometimes I'm sitting there smoking my cigar and having a drink, and I just reminisce. I wish I could be back in the old neighborhood with my brothers.
Yeah. Being goofy, being silly, doing our thing, going to restaurants, laughing, carrying on. And you try to laugh more like I did. I try to laugh more because I know the pain was there. Going to come. I know the door in the cell is going to close one day. You have the reality. You're going to prison. It's no joke. You're going to say it's not going to happen to me. You're not going to jail. Really. But I think the way you depicted the end of somebody that was in that seat, the boss seat, no good deed. You'll have your good days. But at the end, there's no good deeds that come out of that. There's going to be destruction for you and your family. Personal family. And look what some bosses do to their brothers and that other organized crime family. Not to mention their names again, because everybody knows their names now. What these guys have done. How many families still cry?
Yeah. Well, that was fun.
Maybe a little too deep. I don't know. I like to do something with more laughter.
It's deep. And when you and then that Marion cell for 10 years. You lay in the street like Paul. No, we didn't even get to the sections I wanted to talk about, the red pepper and the
next one. It gives us another show. But we're talking about buying a plot. We have some photos that we could put in. You could put in. I say we like I help you. I don't know what the hell to do. It's your thing. You have to bear the brunt of that of that work. So I'll send you some pictures, and we'll give everybody a pictorial of where you wind up. What's the end result, and how do you wind up there? My grandfather had the benefit of dying at 91 years old in his bed. Went through wars, real wars then.
The biggest war.
And had over 20 bodies under his belt.
I mean, the only person to have more wars and a harder wars than grandfather. Sammy.
Early, they started 1910-ish.
I mean, Sammy had some wars.
Nah, he had a war. He had a war in the
my grandfather had a real war. Castellano war was a real war.
That's what real wars.
They weren't going to stop, like you said. This was it Jerry or Paulie told you that the dad said something like it wasn't going to be stopped until Mazaria was dead.
Oh yeah, and not only him, there was other guys that all the old timers talked about that. I told you Louis Ramori. They came from this. The Ramoris came from my grandfather's town. They were paisans, very very close. When they shot his father, he told me the story with Junior there. He said, "Your grandfather killed the guy, put him in an oven. They shot my father." My grandfather did a lot of work alone. So if there's any guys out there was only one assassin scene, could have been him in those old days. I'm laughing about like supposed to be proud of it, but he had a chance to go through all of that and die in his bed. Broke, but that's the way he died in his bed. Paulie Zach's father, murdered in the street. Dagwell, boss of bosses, ran the whole country, all the way to Sicily. Died in the street in front of his family. Both guys died in front of their families. So that's the end result. That you have to think in your head when you have the position, you'll die like Paul Castellano. Look at Lilo, wanted to be boss, right? Look how he died. And others around him, collateral damage, died with him. So, great book. But we got to finish up the last piece.
Yeah, we got a couple more pieces, but we'll put a break in between and do something else, but because I don't want to bore nobody. But I'm curious and tested against someone like yourself that knew a lot, because I'm the intellectual side of it, but you're the practicality side of it. Like you're the like the guy who was there. My agent tells me, he always says, Michael is subjective and you're objective. He said Michael's so close to it, he couldn't write a book like this. Not in a disparaging way. He's just said he's just so close to it. He said, but a person, he said you're so far removed from it that it gives you the ability to see it wider, to see more. But when you're in it, you miss a lot. I didn't really think about that too often until, like, right now I work in a youth agency and I have a white CEO that runs the company that's from privilege. And she's been running an organization for 28 years. And I'm from the shit. Like, I'm from all these things. But she'll talk sometimes and I go, wow, I'm so close to it. Like she was saying to me recently, you hear those police sirens in the background. Everyone in this neighborhood is so used to hearing that they don't even know that that's not what it's supposed to be. I'm sitting there with her. Never thought about it. I come from a drug addicted family, come from deep poverty, everything, because I'm so close to it. She's so withdrawn, came from a community where you didn't hear police sirens all day long. You didn't hear certain things. So she could tell a story about my life that was broader than I could even understand it. Now, when she said it, it hit me. Boom. Oh, but I wouldn't have thought about that. So that's what my agent would tell me. He would say, Michael will like some of these things you're talking about because they'll make him think about things because you're more objective, whereas he's more subjective.
Correct.
So,
how's your man?
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Thank you. We'll be live Sunday for a Q&A. I'll drop a link for everybody to put questions under. We'll start with the Patreon questions first, so I can be prepared for the show. So I'll post a link tomorrow. Leave all your questions. We'll go down the line and we'll ask questions. So thank you, guys. I enjoyed this. Close it out.
Well, you did a great job with your book, and hopefully everybody appreciates this because it's a different look at the mob, and it's between you and I going back and forth dissecting it and having these pro-con opinions. I think it will open up some people's minds to a great discussion. Now, people in the street, right, they may not agree with what I said. But this is me. This is my feelings. They can have their feelings. Some people may speak with bravado. They may think what I said is a weak thing. That's okay. But you know what it is? I lived that reality. I have a right to speak about it. My own opinion on it. They have a right to speak about it, their opinion, whether they concur or not. So that's what this is all about. I would be very interested to hear a street perspective from real street guys that are in the life. I guess we're never going to get that.
Because there's no real street guys left.
Well, they're out there, but
I'm joking. I'm joking.
they're not going to talk. But our Patriot AZ family, I think there's a lot of people that identify with the street from New York, New Jersey, Philly, Chicago, and other places. Just people that were involved in crime and in different parts of the world can understand the grief and the pain that families and they go through. So I'm really looking forward to the input on this.